is going to be in place, so it's going to be very slow to recover out of some of this, Jim. And we want to show everyone what it looked like in the Virginia mountains overnight, slowing traffic to a 100-day streak of getting an inch of snow or more in one day from a storm. Philadelphia, 1.5 inches. Our streak was 715 days. Both BWI and IDA saw over 4 inches, and those were daily records as well. So here is all the advisories that we have posted. There's your snow that came down for us. You can see some of us had a little bit more in that 5 to 8 inch range for us. And we have seen Reagan also at 3.4. Arcola getting a half a foot of snow, and that snow is still streaming in. The question is, are we going to break our record in New York for our number of days without seeing an inch of snow or more on one day? So we're slowly chipping away, but it's been very light snow all morning long. Baltimore now switching over to ice. This is the worst type of winter precip. I think most people would agree on that, because that just makes a layer of ice. And here's that snow. It's going to be coming to an end into New York. Can we get an inch is the big question. It's going to be tough to do it, but there's still another little blast that will come through. But as things warm, we're going to switch over to perhaps some of that mixed precip, maybe a little rain-snow mix, maybe even a little icing coming in. And we have warm temperatures, but the cool air gets into us too. It's not just going south. It is going to be making its way east as well. And so we will be cooling off. But overall, 3 to 5, 1 to 3, and then, of course, the heavier stuff in Maine as this storm lingers for us. And the 1 to 3, 3 to 5, you might be like, nah, not a big deal. Well, believe it or not, that's when we have most of our accidents. A trace to 2 inches, add in that 2 to 6, we see over 40,000 accidents. That's when we get our most, because you just go about your day as if nothing has changed and you run into a lot of problems. But Jordan, we are anywhere from 1 to 2 to even 3 feet below average on snowfall. I hope that we don't repeat what we saw last year with all these snow droughts in the Northeast.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you would think that
we're getting close to an inch, so we might make it. We might make it there if you look at the hourly numbers before that freezing rain comes in. Here are some of the big numbers from the south. Holy moly, we haven't had an inch in New York, and we had 15 here. Of course, that has a little elevation at Sugar Mountain there. Faust, North Carolina as well, but even Tennessee, St. Joe, down to Glen, Mississippi, 7 inches of snow, and also a glaze of ice here causing some issues on the roads. The roads have been really rough, really slippery. Winter storm advisories go from the Gulf Coast up to the Appalachians. And notice we do have that colder air that's coming in. And I know that there's a lot of schools canceled here in and around the Atlanta area. We're thinking this precip's going to get out, then the cold air is going to get in. So we shouldn't have too many big problems out there on the roads for us. Maybe a few slick spots, but there have been some reports here of some icing going on. But notice that it's still just rain here in Atlanta, otherwise cloud cover. And look at the difference in temperature. 36, 43, 33. And then the teens. So we are hitting our highs right now in places like Columbus, Atlanta, up towards Blairsville, because that cold air is going to come crashing in very quickly. Rain up I-85 all the way into Charlotte as well. And this storm reaches down into Florida and all the way up into the Northeast too. Notice the temperatures in Atlanta dropping throughout the day here. And as this gets to the coast, our cold air will get down into Florida as well. We're much clearer tomorrow, much calmer, but a whole heck of a lot colder. Be prepared tomorrow morning. And of course, if you do run into any ice, this is in the south or in the north, you need to leave a lot more space in between cars there in case you do slip and slide. Make sure those tires are properly inflated, slow down, increase your distance, and maintain and replenish your safety kit. That is key. Them up.
We're close.
And we're at 9/10 of an inch.
Okay, so she added it. So if we get to
seeing the threat for winter weather, we do have an ice storm warning. Yes, we have the snow, but I am concerned about this, the ice storm warning. This could be very disruptive. We just had issues last, Friday into Saturday, even into Sunday with power outages as well. People died because it was so bad, and now we're going to have another bad event, snow here into the interior. But this is what I want to focus in on. Anywhere from a ½ an inch to 3/4 of an inch. This is crippling. This is extremely disruptive. A lot of people are already out of power from that last system that came through, but this could really take us over the edge. So you're talking about very damaging when you're going from 1/4 of an inch or more. Roads are going to be hard to drive on, if even possible. If you get a ½ an inch of ice, you're talking about the weight of power lines increasing by 500 pounds. Increase the weight of ice on a tree by 30 times. So we've seen trees down on cars. We've seen homes that have had issues. And look at our power outages going up, 50,000 without power here into Oregon. The system is still offshore, but it will be coming in as we go through the day today. There it is, through the day into tomorrow. Rain will be heavy at the coast, so that will be a problem. And then a piece of that energy moves east. That's this. And it's going to merge with something coming from Canada. And then that will bring more snow for the Great Lakes and into the Northeast as we head over the coming days. This isn't going to be a superstorm, but there will be some spots that could see, 3, 5+ inches of rain. Of course, the GFS is GFSing and going a little heavier. When does it all develop for us here? Well, these two systems come together and really start to cause problems as we head into our Thursday, and then more as we head into our Friday, especially in the afternoon. D.C., we might be finished with our deficit once this goes through. We're only about, I want to say, like a 1/10 of an inch below average. And then, of course, the GFS wants to go a little heavier for us here along the East Coast. But it will bring more snow to spots that desperately need it. We're 1, 2, even 3 feet below average on snowfall for spots here in the Northeast. This will help, but it's not going to. It will be, Jim. And also at the higher elevations, places like Virginia, the mountains there overnight, slowing traffic to all the way up into Maine, where we have winter weather advisories. Philadelphia, our first 1.5 inches, I should say, our first inch of snow in one day from a storm in 715 days. So we haven't had an inch of snow in one day in over 700 days. The same down into D.C. and Baltimore. But there we had record snow at Dulles and at BWI of over 4 inches of snow. There are our totals. You can see some of us getting a little bit higher amounts. And we will see it still coming down. New York, I was looking at the METARs, which is essentially the hourly data, and also sometimes it's in between the hours of what's happening hour by hour. So I was adding up the snowfall in New York hour by hour. I was going through all the data, and we were at 0.9. I need to go see if we got any more collected here in this last hour. So I am hopeful that we're going to get to that inch, but it's close because we have a little break here coming as well. We did have some icing into places like Dover and Atlantic City. Otherwise, a lot of this isn't reaching the ground. It's not heavy enough. New York's still snowing, so it could be close. All we need is a 1/10 of an inch. It's possible. Providence, Boston, where we're a foot below average on snow. We really need it. Over towards Syracuse, where we're 3 feet below average on snowfall. Very mild air, but watch the temperatures drop. You see these teens? They will head in our direction, and things will be cooling off not only south, as Jim was mentioning, but into the Northeast as well. Overall, 5 to 8 up into Maine. There's your lighter snow, but it doesn't take a lot to cause accidents. In fact, most happen when you have a trace to 2 inches. That's when you have the most car accidents, because people just continue on and on and on like nothing's going on, because you think it's like, no problem. Let's check in on Winter Storm Heather's progress as it rolls into the Northeast. Meteorologist Jackie Jarris live this morning in Central Park. Jackie, how much do you have there unofficially in Central Park? Or maybe you've been looking at the METAR too, and you know how much we've had officially. We did it! Stop! Have a look at the snow that we have seen, and we got a lot of it in the south. Can you believe we've had an inch in New York and only an inch in New York and 15 in North Carolina? Now, yes, little elevation helped us out there, but even down into Glen, Mississippi, a solid 7 inches. Glaze as well with this icing going on. That has caused problems this morning, actually, in some spots as well. Down here into southeastern portions of Alabama, there have been some reports of wintry weather this morning. There's that 32 degrees marching in, and I know that we have school cancellations and delays here because of this wintry weather, and the cold air is going to be coming in. So this is basically the warmest you're going to be of the day. Columbus, Montgomery, Atlanta, Blairsville, Athens, Macon, because these teens and 20s are headed in your direction, and it is just going to chop right through the south, slice right through, and give way to very cold air. So the kids heading out to school, maybe not that bad this morning. I'll tell you what, that temperature is going to be a lot colder when they get home from school, because it will be getting chillier. Tallahassee even down into the 30s as we head into the overnight hours. And look at the single digits into Mississippi and Tennessee. Wind chills are going to take us down as well. If you do run into any ice, no matter if you're in the south, the Northeast, wherever, The average braking distance at 50 miles an hour is 1,000 feet. So you want to slow it down here and give yourself plenty of space.
More snow to New York.
It could, but Jackie, I was glad that you were saying it was light and fluffy, because that makes the METAR make sense for all the meteorologists looking at the METAR, because when you add up the liquid equivalent, it's 0.9 inches. But the ratio is probably 11 to 1, maybe 12 to 1, because it's fluffier. And that's what makes the difference there with that inch of snow, technically speaking. So a little meteorology lesson for everyone this morning, Jackie. But let's talk about that next system. It's been busy. Bad storm at the end of last week into the weekend. A lot of power outages, a lot of damage. And this one could be very disruptive, if not crippling at times. We've got the snow here into the mountains, but I really want to focus in on this. The icing. We could see 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch of ice, which is significant here in and around Portland and also straddling I-5. And so that could be extremely damaging for us. We're talking trees down, power outages, and we already had these issues. So this is yet another storm with the same problems for us. And 1/2 inch of ice can actually increase the weight of a span of power lines by up to 500 pounds. That's significant. And it can increase the weight of a tree branch by 30 times, which is why they break and you have all sorts of issues. Let's look at our power outages. We're at 49,000 customers without power. And by the way, the storm hasn't even come ashore. It is still just off the coast. And it's going to be coming in as we go through the day today. There it is. You see the rain and then pushing inland. So very heavy rainfall, 3 to 5 inches for some of us, even showers getting down into San Francisco, the Sierra getting the snow. And then a piece of that, just like a Kit Kat bar, a little piece of that, we're going to break off and go east. And we're going to get another piece of energy diving down. Those are going to combine and bring more snow to the northeast. And we need it here desperately. Our deficits are 1, 2, 3 feet of snow in the northeast. So we could take it. We're not going to get feet of it. We'll get inches. But with this storm tracking, it is going to accumulate the snow from the Midwest on into the northeast. GFS going a little bit heavier there on our snow totals, which isn't shocking. But here is the timing of it. Little piece of energy there. And then look at Thursday. There is our northwest energy coming in into our Friday. More for DC and spots in the northeast. You're going to get it. So winter is here, and it is here to stay. The GFS timing on this, pretty similar. There it is for our Friday afternoon from the mid-Atlantic on into the northeast. They have a little more lingering as we head into our Saturday. Kelly?
January.
I just wanted to let you know, I just saw an observation of 2 snowflakes next to each other in Mobile. So perhaps a little snow also making its way down into Mobile, too. Yeah.
Okay.
On the surface map.
We got it all.
We got it all. We got it all. That is true. All right, Jim.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to get you some rest, though. You've been going for 100 days without seeing an inch of snow in one day. Philly, 1.5 inches of snow. We had record snow yesterday at Baltimore and also Dulles of over 4 inches. Still, the advisories posted for this system. Notice we did have pockets of 5 to 8 inches here into the northeast as well. There it is coming in. Babylon, 2 inches. Richmond, 2.5. Harwich, 2.5. Reagan, 3.4. Arcola, one of the bigger winners here at 6 inches. Icing now in Washington and Baltimore. This is bad news. Even just a light glaze can cause big time problems on the roads. Moving into New England, Williamsport, Syracuse, Albany, Concord. We're all getting in on the snow. Still coming down here into New York. So we're going to add to that inch that we saw. And the ratio is 11 to 1. When we talk snow, we typically say 10 to 1. 10 inches of snow will melt down to 1 inch, but in this case, it's a little lighter and fluffier. And you'll see in Jackie's report, it's drier. She won't be able to pack it, so it's 11 to 1. A little bit drier. It's not like it's 15 to 1, but it's still a little bit drier. Temperatures are mild. Watch that cold air starting to march towards the I-95 corridor. You see the 30s versus the teens, but we will all get in on this cold air. You cannot escape it, and there's actually reinforcing cold air coming in later in the week as well. 5 to 8 inches here throughout Maine. Big swath of 3 to 5 for us, but we need a lot more than that in the northeast, Jackie, because we are well below average in the northeast, including places like New York City. I know up to Boston we're a foot below average. Over towards Syracuse, we're around 3 feet below average. So we'll take this 1 inch, and we're excited about it, but we need to tack on another number to that.
Yeah, it would be good.
15 times the amount of snow in the south than in New York City. Isn't that wild? 15 inches. In Banner Elk, North Carolina, Kelly actually sending out that ob earlier this morning up towards Sugar Mountain, obviously a little elevation there, but even 7 inches into northern portions of Mississippi. Icing's been happening all the way down to the Gulf Coast. There are some bridges, elevated surfaces around New Orleans and even throughout the southeast that are getting a little icing there. We still have advisories posted for us through the day because look at this icy, snowy mess coming through the south, and a lot of it is mixed precip. You see those 32-degree temperatures that are coming on in. Look at Evergreen reporting a little snow. On some of these observations, you know, the sites are going to be like a mix of maybe snow and a little sleet, but pretty exciting. Pensacola reporting ice. That is not exciting. That could be very, very bad. And we do have rain as we go east. Notice 39 in Greenville, 17 in Chattanooga. That cold air is going to be plunging all the way down into Florida, as will this storm. So your temperatures will be decreasing as we go through the day.
And it's going to be light, but you know, ice could be a little bit of an issue here, but nothing compared to what they're seeing across parts of the west.
The dedication of those runners never ceases to amaze me every time they get out there. It like burns my lungs. My ears hurt. I don't know if you've ever tried running when it's cold.
Yeah, I don't do it. I do it on a treadmill when it's cold. I get like that exercise-induced asthma when it's cold, but I saw a dude in shorts this morning. He was like, I love this. It feels so good. I'm like, okay, you do you, man. You do you.
By the way, Jackie, that reminds me when you got excited about that inch that finally fell after over 700 days, that like GIF and picture is now circulating around the Weather Channel. Everything that has to do with New York, everyone's adding that picture of you excited about it on the email. So thank you for that joyous moment this morning.
Though. I mean,
it is.
If you love snow, I personally haven't seen snow in over a year. I think it was last March since I was in snow. And I grew up in the Midwest. You know, I'm from Minnesota, Wisconsin, and I love it. I don't love the cold necessarily, but the snow, bring it on.
That is it. Well, Jackie, we got more for you because we have seen now 4 named storms. The problem is as this is coming ashore, it's going to give us ice, and it could be very disruptive, devastating ice here along the I-5 corridor into Portland. Otherwise, snow all the way to the interior. But this is what we want to focus on. Now, we mainly have a quarter to a half inch. There's a small area here under the D in Portland that could be a half inch to 3/4 of an inch. That is absolutely crippling. Otherwise damage. This is after we had issues just at the end of last week into the weekend with some ice here. But notice there's going to be travel issues. There's going to be power outages. There's going to be tree damage. And a half inch can actually increase the weight of a span of power lines by 500 pounds. It can increase the weight of a tree branch, I should say, by 30 times, and that's why they snap. That's why they break. And unfortunately, we already have nearly 50,000 customers without power. I anticipate that number to grow because our system is still offshore. It's going to be pulling onshore. There are the clouds and the rain coming on in. And speaking of rain, we could have very heavy totals for us. And a piece of that is going to break off and team up with another piece of energy as we go through the end of the week. And that's going to bring messy weather Friday into Saturday here into the Midwest and the Northeast. So there's your snow. We are going to see some heavier bits here and there. GFS wanting to go a little bit heavier. But let me time it out as we wrap up our show and hand it on to the next team. That as we head into our Thursday, that's when things are starting to come together. Friday, they really gel. And that means afternoon snow into D.C. And then it clears out for our Saturday. Let's leave.